Good morning and welcome to TipRanks News Bites. I'm Ari Gutman. Today is Monday, July 25th, and here are our top news bites. Everyone from economists to traders are bracing for one of, if not the busiest weeks out of the year in terms of market-moving data that will be released throughout the week. Now, a massive infrastructure boom is well on its way as the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act provides over $1 trillion to U.S. construction companies. And finally, on a global front, new economic data sets depict that China is moving closer and closer to a recession, only furthering concerns of a much larger scale global recession. Now be sure to sit tight for our breaking TipRanks insider news to find out what CEO just doubled down on his biotech stock. You certainly won't want to miss out on this one. As we enter one of the busiest weeks out of the year for potential market-moving news, everyone from economists to all those on Wall Street are bracing themselves for a lot of volatility in the week ahead. Now, futures, as of this point, of major indexes have already given way to overall market sentiment this morning. They continue to cool down from last week's momentum, with the Dow Jones sliding by 0.11%, the S&P shedding 0.12%, and the Nasdaq having dipped by 0.08%. On the docket for this week, the Federal Reserve kicks off their two-day policy meeting commencing on Tuesday, and by its conclusion on Wednesday afternoon, economists are expecting another 75 basis point rate hike. Now on Thursday, a major GDP report will be released, and that report will be very foretelling of the economic direction that we're heading in. Now, as far as earnings, Friday marked 21% completion of earnings season, with what has already been a less than favorable results from many of these companies. Heading into this week, we have another 170 companies that are ready to report, many of which are the market's heavyweights, from Google to Microsoft, Meta and Apple, as well as Amazon. Now, as for today, earnings from Squarespace, Ryanair, and Hexel Corporation are all going to be some of the reports that are generating that spotlight attention. All in all, investors have rated themselves for what is expected to be a much choppier trading week. Over the past few years, U.S. infrastructure has been one of the less lucrative sectors, as the vast majority of public projects were, well, underfunded and eventually just came to a halt as the pandemic plagued the entire nation. But with the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act recently signed into law, which provides over $1 trillion worth of revenue opportunities for U.S. construction and engineering contractors, a boom in the industry is well underway. Now, in order for the contractors to essentially secure public-private partnerships or government contracts, companies will be focused on greener projects with delivery on an emphasis on digital technologies and innovative management solutions. So whether it's Caterpillar, Crown Castle International, Nucor, or any of these larger infrastructure investments, we encourage you to jump right onto TipRanks to do all of your due diligence. On our global news front, while we've already been seeing a lot of signs of an economic slowdown in China, more indicators have come about which only further depict a rather nil economic outlook. Now, recent data that is supposed to be of China's most educated generation, their Gen Zers, shows a 19.3% unemployment rate for their 16 to 24-year-olds, which is a record high, and ultimately 15 million young people who are jobless. Now, Gen Z unemployment rate is attributed to mainly their hardline stance on combating COVID-19, with a zero COVID policy calling for strict restrictions and intense lockdowns. Now, on the other hand, China is also seeing an inverted yield curve on the savings rates, as some of China's largest banks began offering lower interest rates on long-term deposits compared to those shorter-term rates, with less quality overall opportunities. And as for their inverted yield curve, for the world's second largest economy, it's a very strong indication of a potential recession, which ultimately leaves economists fretting, yes, a global recession. As for our breaking TipRanks insider news, I hope you're ready for this one. Repligen CEO Anthony Hunt just bought $660,000 worth of the company's stock. Repligen is a biotech that's devoted to the development and production of the materials used in manufacturing of biological drugs. Now, it is down on the year by roughly 21%, but in more positive metrics, analysts do foresee growth coming their way with a target share price of $229.67, with strong blogger sentiment and several hedge funds also increasing their positions with Repligen. If you're interested in this investment opportunity, perhaps it's suiting for your investment portfolio, just be sure to do all your due diligence, well, right here on TipRanks. TipRankers, that's our news for today. Before we kick off the week, I would love to collect your thoughts on just how volatile the market may be this week. And if you have your eyes set on any particular investments, be sure to let me know by dropping a comment or two down below. Now, as always, be sure to stay up to date and stay connected by joining us right here on TipRanks TV, all the shows you just cannot afford to miss. Now, until next time, thank you for tuning in.